I hope everybody's doing well today. My name is Jamie. You guys likely know me as Mystic Mac DFS over in the Reddit communities and over at my Patreon, Mystic Mac DFS. I hope everybody is doing well today. I hope everybody's excited for week 2 of the XFL. Hope everyone had a good week 1. I posted a quarterback video yesterday. If you guys watched that, feel free to check that out. If you have not, no worries, that will be attached up on the top left of this screen at the end of this video. Go ahead and give that a click, give that a watch. I'd appreciate that greatly. If this is your first time here, hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Like I said, my name is Jamie and I go by Mystic Mac. I do post exclusive content over at my Patreon, which, like I mentioned, is Mystic Mac DFS. I post data sets. One of them is which you are looking at now. I post head-to-head matchups. I'm going to post projections and a bunch of other team stats that I feel like is useful. I do podcast articles, go over some of my favorite plays. Really in-depth stuff that I try to give everybody there the best possible chance to succeed, give them the best possible chance to increase their bankroll. We don't give out any lineups. We're not going to do anything like that over there. It's just strictly trying to make you a better player and give you the biggest edge possible. And one of the edges, I believe, is having information like this in front of your face. And I feel like a lot of that edges come from the usage pods and the videos like this. So those are things I'm going to continue to be doing. I also post, like I said, over in the Reddit community over there. And in addition, I post at least 2 to 3 times a week over here regards to the XFL on my YouTube channel. So if you'd give this video a like, a subscribe, I would appreciate that very much. But for today, what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about a few running backs. We're going to talk about 2 running backs for this week that I'm kind of looking into right now. Like I mentioned, I did 3 quarterbacks yesterday. Today, I'm just going to go 2 running backs. And later on today, I'm going to do about 2 or 3 wide receivers that I really like as well. And then after that, I'll end up doing a final look video where I will kind of, like last week, build through some GPP lineups, talk about strategy, kind of talk about favorite game stacks, favorite plays, and different things like that, just to kind of see what we can do when we kind of build those lineups and kind of look at them from an overview aspect of the slate. So like I said, let's kind of dive into these running backs. The first running back that I do want to talk about this week is going to be Elijah Hood. So Elijah Hood plays for the Los Angeles Wildcats. And I think the most important thing to note about Elijah Hood is that Josh Johnson was out last week. This is going to make a huge impact in this team's success. And I'm not sure if, the Vegas line and just the public's perception is picking up for that. Chad Kanoff is a big downgrade from Josh Johnson. Chad Kanoff is not a guy with NFL experience. Josh Johnson is. And that really does make a big difference in the XFL. We know Josh Johnson isn't an elite quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but he does have 5-6 years of NFL experience, whereas Chad Kanoff does not. And I think that is going to make this team overall much more efficient. I think that this is going to give this team a better chance to win. I'm not a big betting guy, but I would look towards LA, just given the fact that I don't think that Vegas is accounting for Josh Johnson near enough here in this situation. And I think that Elijah Hood is going to be able to really pay off. So he was only one of 2 running backs who saw 70% of the team's snaps. Every other running back played less than 70% of the snaps. So when we're talking about a position that is going to be much different than it was in NFL, right? When we played NFL, we wanted almost always to have filled that flex position with a running back, and we wanted to put 3 running backs in. Like I mentioned last week, we really only want to look for 1, maybe 2, but for the most part, optimal lineups, I feel like, are just going to be 1 running back because we don't really have workhorse running backs. As you can see on the slate, we only had 1 running back that got 20-plus touches, and that was Matt Jones, for the St. Louis Battlehawks, who, by the way, has not practiced all week, so that's something you need to keep an eye on tonight and going into for tomorrow to look into Christine Michael as well. But we like Elijah Hood. He saw 50% of the team's market share of rushes. However, What we do like is that he saw 12 touches. And if you can see over here, Larry Rose back up, no touches. Oh, excuse me, that's not correct there, actually. He actually saw 3 attempts. He had 3 rush attempts. He did see 2 targets. So that is nice as well. I'm not sure why this one didn't pull up. I'm going to go back in there and check. Oh, I think because it's actually Larry Rose the third. Yeah, that's actually is what it is, because it's actually Larry Rose the third down there in my player sheets, but I have him here in my model as Larry Rose. So I will go back in and check that to get that changed. But he had 3 attempts, and I think he caught 1 pass. He saw 2 targets, but he's not very effective. He was not used very much at all. Larry Rose only played about 23% of the snaps. Dwan Harris came in number 3 on the depth chart. He was a guy that did have a little bit of NFL experience and played for the Green Bay Packers for a little bit of time. But again, he only saw 2 touches, and he played less than 16% of the team snaps as well. So this is going to be a team that I think is really going to focus on Elijah Hood. Now, Elijah Hood saw 0 targets. So I think that is noteworthy. But the reason I'm not 100% convinced that is going to be the case going forward is that he actually ran 24 routes, which was the second most out of all running backs on the slate. Actually, he was tied with the most routes out of all running backs on the slate. So he didn't catch any balls, he wasn't targeted, but he did run routes, and he did run routes at a pretty high clip. And so I think with Josh Johnson out there, that might be able to make, just like I said, make this team much more efficient. I think that overall this team's going to have a better chance of winning the game. And I think that Elijah Hood is just going to have a better opportunity to score, to be efficient, to get the ball in his hands. And last week they were kind of game script out of that and was really forced to throw the ball. So Elijah Hood's going to be a guy that I'm going to kind of look at a lot this week. I do think, like I said, that people aren't really accounting for Josh Johnson being back enough and what that does to this team overall. So Elijah Hood's going to be a guy I'm going to try and take advantage on. Next guy that I do want to talk about Jarrell Presley. So Jarrell Presley is going to be a guy that I'm going to have a lot of interest in again this week. He was a guy I mentioned last week that I specifically like to hedge off of my Cardell Jones. And that's going to be something I'm going to do this week. It didn't really work out last week because the offense really wasn't needed to do much. However, I do think that might not be the case this week. I think the New York Guardians have a very solid offense, and I feel like this game does have the potential to be high scoring and put up a lot of points. So I'm going to get action from Cardell Jones and Jarrell Presley. Jarrell Presley saw 14 touches. We like that a lot. He did see 2 targets, which again is very nice. But what we really do like is that he saw they are 7-point favorites, and they're the second highest team total on the slate. So this team does get out to a lead. Maybe they do start to run it a little bit more. They did have a 42% pass rate last week, and that's when they did get up in a lead. I do think this team is wanting to pass the ball a lot more than that 42% last week suggested. I think that's just the way the game script went, so I don't necessarily see that happening again, but I still think that is going to be someone that we're going to want to look at. Not to mention that Devin Smith last week absolutely destroyed this Guardians defense. They have the per PFF, they actually have a 75.8 rush defense, which is the third worst on the slate. Second worst on the slate, only behind Seattle by a very small margin. So, like I said, this is going to be a team that I think we're going to want to just get pieces of in general. I'm going to want, like I said, I want to make it clear that I don't necessarily think pairing these guys together is going to be an optimal decision. I don't hate that idea, but he only saw 2 targets, right? It's going to be more of a thin play playing them together, and you're going to probably need to get lucky. I like the idea of in your Cardell Jones lineups going with a pass-heavy approach. And then maybe in the lineups that you don't use Cardell Jones, go with Jarrell Presley, and kind of hope that this is going to be more of a run-heavy game and that Jarrell Presley kind of takes the lead, and maybe Cardale Jones ends the game with 2 touchdowns, 200 some yards, and has a solid game but not a great fantasy game, kind of like he did last week. But Presley kind of takes over all of that production. That is kind of what the route that I'm going to be kind of leaning in. I like the idea. I've talked about this a lot, about hedging some of your lineups and not kind of going all in, especially in a sport like football where there's just so much variance. We think we know exactly what is going to be the best and the optimal plays, but in reality, it's really tough to know. So in tournaments, I always recommend spread out your ownership and kind of don't put your eggs in one basket, right? If you really like the quarterback for one team, know that in your mind, think, well, okay, if the quarterback fails and this team is in a really good spot, who might benefit, right? And if in your mind, if you can surmise that maybe the running back will benefit, like I do in this situation, then go for it. And that's kind of my idea, and that's kind of what I'm going with. So like I said, there's still other running backs on this slate that I like and I'm still going to play. But as of right now, those are 2 running backs that I'm going to try to anchor most of my lineups with. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, I'm going to try and make these really as quick as possible. I really don't want to go past 10 minutes long. That way you guys can sit there and kind of get these in short form and not just have to sit there and hear someone ramble on for a long time. And nobody likes that. I totally understand. So be on the lookout. A couple hours, I'm going to have that wide receiver one up. Then a few hours after that, later on in this evening, I'm going to post that final look video where we're going to build some lineups together. And you guys are going to kind of see my thoughts on the slate, go through some strategies, and just kind of see where we end up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, if you guys like this video, I would really appreciate a like. I would really appreciate a subscribe. That really helps me a lot. I'm trying to get out here on YouTube much more often and familiarize myself with it. It's still a little new to me, so I'm still kind of working out the kinks with everything. But I do appreciate you guys a lot. And if you guys want to check out some more of that content, like I said, Patreon, patreon.com/Mystic Mac, MYSTICMACDFS. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you in a bit. Bye.